Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to speak about the subject of what is it being an introvert? Well, I think that I'm somewhat of an introvert with characteristics of an extrovert. So I think that happens mostly with everyone. We are a bit of both. And of course, there's extremists where they're going to be huge introverts and other people who are extremely extrovert. But I think most of the time what we are is we're a little bit of both, because we're not always happy, we're not always sad, we're most of the time in between, and then there's some moments of high and low. And anything that's an exaggeration is actually crazy. It's not actually possible, So you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd just be crazy and go to a nut house. So obviously, we are not only one thing, and we are not only another thing. So, what is it being an introvert? Being an introvert is someone who basically thinks a lot and that loves their own company in some way. They'd much more rather prefer to be home reading a book than to be at a party with a bunch of people that are just dancing and being really loud because they just feel uncomfortable with that. And me, myself, I can be in places with a lot of people, I don't mind, but sometimes when I'm in a place where I'm not really learning anything new and I'm just stuck in a place where people are just having very basic conversations called small talk, in some way I get bored. I just feel that I'm wasting my time, that I could be actually learning something. And yes, some people enjoy that talk, and I tend to not to enjoy too much. It's kind of like the same thing as for me watching a soccer game or a football game or whatever kind of sports game. I get bored. And I just can't help it. It's really difficult for me to enjoy these things. And I've tried to understand them, but if they were to tell me you watch a game or if you really wanted to play it, I think I'd probably tell them, well, I don't really enjoy soccer, but I'll probably play with you much more than I'll actually watch that game, because I just don't understand why I should watch people running after a ball. But there's nothing wrong with it. Some people like it. And it's the same thing as being, again, an extrovert. An extrovert will be someone who kind of feels uncomfortable being alone. And they much rather be always in the company of people. And those are people usually who do very well socially, because they're just extrovert. Extrovert means outside. So introvert means inside, into. So we have the same kind of feelings. Like I think nobody really wants to always be alone and all that, but the extrovert will basically show all these emotions outside. Like if they're happy, they're just going to be jumping with joy and going up and down. And of course, you can fake it. Like anybody can fake it if you're a good enough actor. But at the same time, then an introvert might feel super happy, but their smile will just be like, I'm happy. Whereas an extrovert will be, this is cool, So of course I'm exaggerating it, but the thing is that that's basically how we see both these spectrums. And I think even extroverts, such as like you'll see people acting in movies and they're doing like really wild things, such as Jim Carrey and stuff like that. But then I think that if they're in real life and the regular life, they're probably not really that big. You can't be turned on at that all the time. I think for the thing is, it's an act. It's kind of like thinking of, why would someone want to go see me? They don't want to go see a sad person. Like you don't want to be around sad people because they're going to make you sad. So you want to be around happy people so that you can also kind of contagiously get that happiness, right? So that's why people go watch movies and things. And sometimes actually people do watch dramas and other things because they do want to feel sad. it's the thing. I think that's why horror movies are so popular, because people just want to get scared. They want to be told a story that scares them, and maybe it reminds them of their childhood or whatever it is. But that's how it is. So yeah, I'm an introvert. I'm very proud to be one. And it doesn't mean that I want to be alone all the time. It just means that I can easily enjoy. I'll easily be just as happy, actually more than happy, being at home or being on a hike by myself and enjoying my own company, reading a book or playing a video game or just enjoying my cup of tea, than being in a very loud place such as a bar or a club or any place where you have to do all this dancing and all that stuff. It just, for me, it's just loud, and I see a lot of people having small talks, and I just get kind of uncomfortable. And you can fake it, yeah, if you have to for business or whatever it is. I can easily really just fake it, and people will think that I'm extrovert. And a lot of times what's funny is that people will say that, oh, David's shy, he's being quiet. Well, it's not really that I'm shy, it's just that small talk just doesn't interest me. And when you try to be more deep with someone, they'll just look at you like, huh. Because the thing is that you kind of went too deep, and maybe they don't really understand what you're talking about. That often happens to me, probably even with these conversations. I think maybe it overwhelms people because I'm talking too much, and I think that it can happen the same way if I start talking very passionately about a film I saw, or this and that type of filmmaking, or this and that video game. And I can get the same thing too. Like, I've spoken to some scientists and stuff, and then they're just like speaking about stuff that maybe doesn't interest you so much, so you kind of get that little glazed look on you, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But I've kind of learned with time to ask questions. Usually if you're an introvert and you're having a hard time speaking with people, I've noticed that most of the time people love to speak. It's not a bad thing. You just have to ask them questions. So you also have to be in the moment and not think ahead, because sometimes some people get nervous talking to new people. So it's kind of like if somebody says their name and you like 2 seconds later you're thinking, wait, what was their name again? It's because you didn't really listen. You were maybe overwhelmed, or too many senses were going at the same time, and you didn't really listen to their name. So what happens is that you just didn't really listen. So even if it's a subject you don't really know anything about, but let's say you want to be social and you really want to be interacting and making new friends and stuff, I think the best thing sometimes is just to almost be quiet, actually, and just ask very specific questions. And usually whatever somebody says or speaks about, there's always there's some key word that if you're actually listening to it and not getting too distracted by the things surrounding you, you're able to ask them another question and ask them another question, and then you start learning more about the subject. And maybe at some point, no matter what the subject is, if you really listen, eventually there will be something in that subject that will actually interest you too. And then once you manage to harness or get that keynote that you know how to that thing interested you, or you actually really want to genuinely know more about it, then you're able to now start creating a relationship, and that introvertness will become extrovert. So you'll go from an introvert to an extrovert, and even if it's for just that moment, then you'll be able to overcome it, basically. So what I'm saying is, even if you're an introvert or even if you're an extrovert, you should try to maybe, explore a bit of both, because we're always a bit of both things. Even the biggest extrovert will be an introvert at some times. It's just how it is. We can't be high all the time. Anyways, that's all I have to say on the subject. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.